she does have her seizures, are you checking her blood sugar?
Yeah, and they're not affected at all.
So it's normal.
Yeah,
This all has to do with the damage she received.
yeah, it comes from the spot. Yeah.
If she had had a blood sugar taken at the beginning, she would not have had a respiratory arrest. She would not have the spot on her brain. It's a very pinpoint little spot, and that is the exact spot the neurologist says is the exact spot that is firing when she's having these.
The seizure actually elevates the blood sugar to some
It
degree.
also makes her electrolytes go real high, so I think she has a kidney infection every time that she doesn't.
Yeah.
It always comes back negative. That keeps in
But I have had the opportunity to test it when she was seeing the rainbows, and she hadn't quite started the seizure, and it was coming. You could tell. I was able to get a blood sugar, and it was 118. You know, and I just thought for sure it was going to be high or low. And we also wondered if maybe the lesion was growing back, or maybe there was another one that we had not seen. That had reared its head, but apparently not. It seems to be all stemming from it's a neurological problem now. So it goes hand in hand. The seizures, come from the low blood sugar, the food for the brain, the sugars are. So, but we're still fortunate anyway. She lives perfectly normally. Does everything a little girl does, and we can't keep her out of the pool. And it's frightening, and we watch her, like a hawk. But yes.
What was her blood temperature, or not her blood, her temperature when she was born? You said she was cold. She was cool.
No,
not when she was born.
All of her signs, everything was normal.
But as she progressed
over the 48 hours.
Right.
We don't know. We don't know if
I'll probably look in the record to see if it's in there.
Yeah, we don't know if it incrementally dropped or not. We actually
same exact thing. Your story is probably out of all the people I've talked to, the closest to mine.
Really. We don't know. I've actually ordered all of her records from the hospital, and I've kind of skimmed through. I mean, it's a huge packet of paper, and I've skimmed through it. And that's exactly what I was trying to find was what was her temperature. Her temperature
was 97.6. I don't know if that helps you at all, but
it seems like hers was a little bit lower than that, if I recall.
I remember seeing 96.
Oh, 96.
Yeah, and that was right before. And I can't understand for the life of me why that didn't raise any flags, but that's another.
A heat lamp was not a solution. There should have been a physician in there with her.
Right.
She should not have been just left unattended under a heat lamp. There were nurses, there was nurses in the nursery, but they were nowhere near her. She was just under a heat lamp. She didn't need a tan, she needed a doctor.
What do you want to say?
Explicitly, since I had noticed something was wrong with her, and I took her back to her and said, and pointed it out. I didn't just take my baby back in there and say, here. I said, no, there's something going on. She's not responding to, she's not, she doesn't feel right. She doesn't look right. And, yeah. And at the time, when I took her in there, I had him and my other son and this one on the way up to the hospital, on their way before they went to school. So they were coming up too. So I left her with the nurse and said, I'm going to go to the room. I'll be right back, or I'll send my husband. I didn't want these two to be scared, but I needed to make sure he knew what was going on. So he walked in the door. I sent him to the nursery. He didn't even get in the door to my room. He went straight down there and it happened right there. He walked in, put his finger on, put his hand on her hand, and she went out.
Yeah, she turned black and blue and arched her back.
If I had not gone to get her at that time, she would not have been known. And she would have probably been, probably a sensitive.
Yeah, she
would not have attributed it to anything.
She didn't make a sound either. She just arched her back and turned black and blue and breathing. There was not a sound, not a stir, and there was no nurse attending her, and so they would have never known until it was far too late.
That's exactly my story. And every doctor I've talked to said they would have called it SIDS.
Yep.
And that's
that's
why I did in finding out how maybe this is so much more common than anybody knows.
I think it might be.
SIDS.
Yes.
You do have some SIDS in the family.
And you could probably bet that it's probably this.
I bet it is.
It's reared its head in your family more than once.
Because if we had gone home, we could have gone home the night before, and
I
almost
chose
did.
not to.
We almost went home.
I had had a C-section, and normally my mother would come up from Alabama to spend the first week with me to help me out. And I stayed up 2 days. Hey, they're talking to me too. Like, I can talk right here. I'm loud. Anyway, now you make me lose my train of thought. Thank you very
I'm
much.
sorry.
Your mom was coming up.
Oh, my mother always came up, but she could not come up this time. So I was going to be on my own the next day because we had to go to work and I had to go to school, so it was going to be just me and the baby. So I thought, well, I'm going to leave her in the nursery all night. Because the first 2 nights I stayed up all night with her, of course. And so I left her in the nursery that last night and went and got her. It was about 7 o'clock in the morning. And that's when she went into the respiratory rest. And if I had gone home, she wouldn't have made it. If I had not gone to get her that morning, she wouldn't have made it. If I had kept her in the room with me and not woke up or something, she would not have made it. Everything worked out perfectly. Where I was still there, got him up to the nursery on time. There happened to be a neonatologist in the NICU portion of this little bitty NICU. And happened to be about 10, 15 feet away. They grabbed her up, shoved him out the door, locked the door, closed the blinds, and that's what we had.
Yeah.
We had a little gap this big to look through to see what they were doing with our dog.
But she wants to say what it's like when she has a seizure. She wants to, so go ahead. They can hear you. Hear you.
It's like it's freaky because you don't know when it's like feeling because you're just shaking automatically.
What do you see?
Rainbows, sparkles, flashes.
And what do
I
you
can't
see?
see anybody that much when I see them. Sometimes I could see people, sometimes I just can't.
Do you want a chair to stand up?
And then, so you go lay down.
Yep.
And then you don't. I don't think she knows what's going on. She doesn't remember them. There's actually been one case where she had a seizure and she talked through. She talked through the whole thing. And
When we're going to Branson.
she knew exactly. She knew exactly what was going on. She'll steal the mic. I guarantee it. She lay there and was having a seizure and knew exactly what she was talking about. Normally, she's very distant, incoherent, and she can't answer questions. You can ask her. That's how I kind of know when she's coming out. I'll ask her questions that she should know quickly, and eventually, those answers will they'll make sense. But this time, and it was odd. It's really the only time it's happened, and she talked straight through it, and. Yes, she was still having a seizure, so we let her lay down for about an hour, and then she got up and everything's. She'll pop right up after about an hour, and as if nothing had ever happened, and everything is back to normal. They're the strangest things.
Sometimes she'll go to sleep right afterwards.
Yeah.
She can wake up with a migraine,
But
and she usually gets sick to her stuff.
but once again, we're lucky that it's just the seizures that we deal with, because I know that some of the kids really have a tough time, and the seizures really, in the whole scheme of things, it's not that bad. It's not as debilitating as what some of you guys have to put up with and deal with. But anyway, that's Rihanna's story.